Greetings everyone, and thank you Got That Funk for allowing me to post up this video related to vaping and the vaping industry and the vape flavor bans. If you haven't been living under a rock, there's been a lot going on. Every day there's new news. Every day or every couple hours there's something that pops up that this city's had a ban, there's a committee meeting, the head of Juul who recently stepped down, you name it, it's happening. The question is, why is this happening? Because the original source and where this all started was because there have been at least 8 deaths now of people who have been vaping, not the e-cigarettes that are being blamed and are being swept under the rug like the good kid in the classroom while the troublemakers get away with things. It is the THC oil-based, some with the like a vitamin E acetone ingredients that really shouldn't be in the lugs and shouldn't be vaped. And there's numerous companies that have been out there. Several people have already gotten busted in Wisconsin and Minnesota, surprisingly, because that seems to be the hotbeds, under the black market. So thank you, what would say, drug cartels or whoever for doing this to us, and now we have and innocent people are being smacked across the face or being pushed down as if they're being waterboarded for what they're doing legally and what they're doing to help people. Yet, it's the THC oil that has done it. But you also have to consider something else, ladies and gentlemen. It is cold and flu season, right? People have died from flus. People have died from pneumonia. So why aren't you taking some of these pre-existing conditions under account, right? So this is why I've called this vape cancel culture. And for those of you who are familiar with cancel culture, you know exactly why I titled this, because that's what it seems to be happening. The thing is that the e-cigarette industry and the vaping industry has been under the gun on and off for the last several years, ever since I've been writing about it for Vape News magazine. And somehow, somewhere, it's like now this is happening. Why? Because they used a THC death headline as an excuse to cover it across the board. Like I said, like the teacher, and I always use this analogy, like the teacher punishing the good kids because several bad kids is causing problems for everyone. So instead of singling them out, let's put everybody in the same group. Doesn't quite work that way, because once the facts come out and you find out what the real truth is, it makes you look pretty bad. And that's what's slowly starting to happen now. This knee-jerk reaction over the last couple weeks, I have to tell you, has been exhausting. And if you follow me on Twitter, you'll see why and how I've been active in this, even in some of the Facebook groups too. So why do I care about this? That's what you're probably wondering, right? For those of you who have followed me on social media, who have been to my podcast on Vape TV, which is since closed, or VapeNet, for those of you who know about me writing for Vape News magazine, this is something that's become a passion of mine, and I'll tell you why. I got into this community and I got involved with this for several personal reasons. Number one, because of my boyfriend. He had tried many different things, and it wasn't until I discovered some vape channels on Vaughn TV, of all things, that I started learning about this. And it was also through some people that I knew through Block TV, which is also where I met my boyfriend, who were starting to get into this, because I knew they were trying to quit smoking. Second one is even bigger, though. I had an uncle, my dad's brother, who died of stage 4 lung cancer. And he did start to vape some of those smaller cigarette-like type of things up until his death. But he also vowed he would never quit smoking because it was that addiction. Well, he was an alcoholic and a heavy drinker, but after he quit that, he took up smoking. And so he kind of went from one addiction to another. But after he died, and I was showing my parents about this vaping thing, and they were learning about what it was. They were all for it. My dad loved the idea that Norm, my boyfriend, basically, was going to go try this. Now, he started as a dual user, and then he became full on. So he's been full on for about, I have to say I always have to say about 8, 9 years now. So I wanted to find a way to give it to the community. Well, I'm not a juice maker. I'm not a manufacturer. I'm not a mod maker. I can maybe do craft and maybe make mod holders, and I can knit those. It's been a while, but I could do it. I could still do it. That'd be a good way to make money. So I thought, well, what about writing? And so I started looking at publications, and I had done freelance writing for a while. That's when I discovered Vape News, and the rest is history. Well, Vape News, for some reason, has gone in this weird hiatus. I don't know what, how, and why. So I've had to hustle and struggle and find some other places to do my writing, which I have, by the way. So that's the good news. And I may have more than one source besides my main teaching job. Now all this vape flavor ban stuff has happened. I know places personally that are either diversifying or, selling everything out, or just going as business as usual and waiting for the handcuffs to come. So what is the big deal about this? Well, basically these vape flavor bans have come down because, it's the whole protect the children, save the children type of situation, right? Well, we all know when you have the war on drugs and try to save something with children involved, it doesn't quite work and it's quite illogical. It comes from something emotional. But the timing of all this is what's interesting, because when our governor here in Michigan she started it out of nowhere. It was a knee-jerk reaction. Now, supposedly this rumor came about that one of her kids got caught with it, and so she figures nobody should have it. Teacher in the classroom mentality, right? It gets even better. The more I looked into this and the more I was talking to people, and I have been talking to people in the community, there's something called a master settlement agreement where, some of the big tobacco and the government made a deal and decided, okay, we'll do this percentage of money, give you a cut. Long story short, okay, we're running out of money. Everybody's switching to this thing. We got to find a way to get rid of it. Let's start with the flavor ban. Let's start with something easy. You also have budgets, right? Everybody's working on their budgets right now. So you want to find something to cut, you want to find something to keep. Also, political season, right? November's coming up for some of the smaller elections, like for city councils and local governments. Maybe some senators and representatives here and there, right? Political posturing, okay? So we got that involved. You also have, and let's look at 2020 coming up, right? I mean, there's a lot of factors that have been going on, which I can't explain in one video, so I'm trying to be as short as possible, but it's been quite difficult, if you will. I tried to do it before, and I was going to put something up before that was a little bit more scripted. However, there were some problems, so that's why I've kind of decided to revamp and speak more from the heart. Side note here. So anyway, what concerns me and what angers me is how this is happening, how swiftly this is happening. Because not only Michigan, but New York, Massachusetts, as far as the big states are involved, came out with something. But Massachusetts went a little bit more, and they had their police officers and law enforcement go to these stores to shut things down. Kind of like the old prohibition days, right? Secondly, you had New York, who actually started an actual ban. And Michigan, well, we have this order. There's this 14 days to sell off your flavors, and then they're going to have this 6-month period. But there's an update on some of this stuff. There's some lawsuits coming down the pipeline. Members of the FDA are going, the head of the FDA, or who ex-head of the, I don't know who the heck, what his position is. The FDA is seeing this and going, oh crap, we made a boo-boo on this. The CDC and the FDA are kind of like sending mixed signals. Yes, it is. No, it isn't dangerous. We should ban this. No, we shouldn't. They're having an argument with themselves, which is quite interesting. And of course, our president, who initially said something should happen, now he's saying, well, maybe not. And a lot of it's come about because of several things. And I'm going to urge you to do this. Number one, writing the emails, calling your representatives on all levels, especially the ones who are implementing this, and Twitter. That's why I've been going on a tweet storm every once in a while within these last couple weeks, okay? Secondly, there's a group called CASA, which if you want to get information and more detailed information about e-cigarettes, vaping, and what this is all about, got a link below for you on that, as well as a few other organizations that you may want to look into. Now, as far as supporting them is one thing, but I think as the individual, whether you support vaping, whether you're a vapor or not, and whether you see that this is a government overreach issue and as well as a choice issue, this is where you need to be involved. In fact, the big fight and the bottom line is this is a freedom of choice issue, a freedom to do what you want for you. Who cares what the other person, who cares if you don't like the other person? Just don't go near it, don't go by it, right? But you don't need the government to do that. You need parents to talk to their kids about what's going on because this is an adult product. The Juul thing, they're only doing that because not only does it look appealing and discreet, but guess what? It's a higher level of nicotine than all the stuff you see in the vape shops. And those vape shops have passed FDA regulations. They have filed their paperwork. They have done everything. Those are the good kids in the classrooms, and yet they're getting punished because of these illegal THC oil-based vitamins E acetone BS. I mean, think about how illogical this is. Everything's being done on this emotional level. And for some reason, the last couple of weeks, there had to be something in the air because it was like one thing after another. And it's like, when the hell is this going to stop? I would like to hear somebody in government at the top level saying, hey, wait. Hold on. Take a breath. Everybody stop what you're doing. Let's hold up on these bans and let's really analyze the situation and see it for what it is. And that's the thing we need to push for. That's the thing we need to say. But even more than that, something I'd urge you to do, well, besides the other things, read about prohibition. The reason why I feel so strong about that one is because my great-grandfather was in the alcohol, he was active in the alcohol prohibition days. He was one of the rum brothers that went from Detroit to Canada. He had a speakeasy, a blind pig. He had the connections to law enforcement, and they would let him know when he was going to get raided, so he knew exactly what to do. The vape industry, unfortunately, is going to suffer through the same thing if something isn't done or if courses are not reversed. And that's the issue right here. And the reason why I'm so passionate about it is because of my boyfriend, an uncle who passed away from stage 4 cancer, and also the fact that I've met some great people within the community who have been supportive. I've actually known personal friends that basically I found online who were starting this journey. And, and it's also the reason why I got into writing about this. Some of you out there know I've been involved with the community for about 7 or 8 years now. But because of what's been happening with Vape News and their weird hiatus, I've had to struggle and claw and find something for myself. So, the bottom line is this. Fight for choices. Fight for your right to do what you want and live your life. Now, maybe a libertarian stance, but at this point, that makes more sense than anything right now. At least to me. But here's the other thing. If you are the type that's listening out there and you're so against vaping, and you're like, no, it's dangerous. Smoking is the one that's safe. Well, smoking has 10,000 chemicals when burned that are actually more in your body, and they have an addictive substance, which is why people keep smoking. Consider this. If one choice is taken away, and it's a choice that you don't like, what are the chances that a choice you might like and something you enjoy will be taken away from you too? Consider that. And think about that carefully, because it just might happen. And when it does, to you, directly, then you're going to understand. But also don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, you do have one other very strong power besides writing the letters and speaking out on this. vote. Register to vote. Make sure you're voting. Talk to those people who are running for whatever seat is out there right now, even for the local elections. Show people that you are a voter. Show people you have a voice. And show people that those ones who are doing the government overreach, that they not only do you got their number, but they have a possibility of losing your vote too. So that's all I have to say about this. I hope I didn't ramble too much. I know it's a longer video than usual for mine, but this is something that has really hit my heartstrings, and I'm very, very passionate about, and I hope you can feel it and see it. And I hope you can support this community. I hope that you do your education. I have a couple links below for you to look at, not only besides the organizations, but also a couple articles I found to really give you a sense of what's going on. And also, don't be afraid to follow me. Also, support Got That Funk, because he's the one that has been ahead of this Breakfast Club channel for I don't know how long, and he let me do this. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. And fight for your choice. Fight for that freedom of choice.